Good morning, class. How's everyone today? Good. Cool. Has anyone ever made a mistake in life and you like, hopefully, no mistakes? Everyone's perfect, right? I mean, honestly, everyone's made mistakes before, and we all regret making some mistakes, whether big or little. We hope someone forgives us, right? Well, there's a quote by Anna, and I'm not sure who that is, but he says, "To err is human, but to forgive is not company policy," which I disagree. There's been incidents in life, such as work, for example, where I was a machinist, and there was a certain tolerance. It was designated like within the blueprint, and this is thousands. And I've made mistakes where I messed parts up, and my boss has been forgiving to me. He's come up with different plans, like just in case that happens. For example, when I did mess up a part and went underneath the tolerance, he said, "Don't worry about it. We'll just send it back to Chrome, get it re-chromed, and we can bring it back and we'll grind it again, moving on." So that is why I disagree with the quote. There's also times with your family, for example, when you make a mistake. I'm thinking of a time when my mom had me bring her a plate of food, and I dropped the plate all over the kitchen. I broke freaking the plate and food everywhere. And I looked at her like with my puppy eyes, like hopefully she doesn't yell at me or ground me. And she didn't. She would just forget about it, just clean it up, no big deal. There's also times when you're on the other side of the shoe. For example, you go to a company, like to a store, and say you forgot your receipt or something, and the people sometimes they don't want to give you a refund or exchange, an article of clothing or something because you don't have a receipt. But there's been people that have done that, and they have given you a refund or your money back because they didn't listen to the company policy. They were being human about it. So with that being said, I agree with the quote. I disagree with the quote, because when you make mistakes, you should forgive people and find different solutions. Thank you. That's what I was trying to do.
So. I'm sorry.
I couldn't come up with anything, so that was on the top.
Yeah, but
Just get closer.
What are you trying to say?
All right, well, I think the opening is okay. The quote is clearly identified. Your point of view is clearly stated. There's not really a preview of what the structure is. I think you're kind of coming up with things on the fly instead of having a plan. The argument or the example from work, I think, is a pretty good illustration. Look, I don't know about where this person worked, but where I worked, they were pretty forgiving. My boss, has bailed me out several times when we had these problems, and then you tell your story. And I thought that worked pretty well on that. And the story about making a mistake with your mom, and she didn't turn it into a big deal and didn't embarrass you about it, didn't yell at you, and that kind of thing. I like that also. That those stories work pretty well. They make it seem very naturalistic that you're talking about this, and most of us can be forgiving in these circumstances. But like I said, it didn't seem like it was a plan so much as it just, well, that was the next thing I could think of. So it worked okay. It worked out all right. Everything is good. I think you're solid on everything. I do think for the first 2 minutes of the speech, you're talking just to me and once in a while to this side of the room. And then about 2 minutes in, I think you start, I noticed that you started talking to Aaron. And then just a few seconds after that, it was like you started drifting over and started talking to the other part of the room. And it wasn't just your eyes, then it was your whole body. And you drift right out of the picture at one point. It's okay, There's nothing wrong with a little bit of movement there, but it feels like you're exiting stage left, you know, the whole time that you're going, well, now there we go. And then you're done. Instead of it being a deliberate sort of thing, it just seems like it's this casual sort of thing. I'm working my way back to my seat instead of, you know, I'm engaging people while I'm talking. All right, thank you.